Hello, I'm Felix from GMWolf, and in this tutorial I will be expanding upon the previous tutorial showing you how to add enemies in the game. So for this tutorial you will need to have followed the previous tutorial in order to have the project recreated. And so I'm going to show you how to make objects spawn randomly at the borders of the screen only, how to make them follow the player, and have them run out of health when they get hit by bullets. I'm also going to show you how to get the player lose health and how to display simple health bars. Now, for this tutorial, we had to introduce a few new concepts. The first being the if statements. So, this being the first time we're going to talk about if statements, I'm going to quickly introduce them here on Paint. So, the way they work is you have the first if statement, then you have your condition, and then you have your code, so whatever you want, for example x is equal to 1 or whatever you want. So if you want to have more than one line of code afterwards, you can do it this way. So if condition, then you can have some curly brackets like so, whatever code you want, and close curly brackets. And I cannot draw them properly, but they look a bit more like this, really. Oh, whatever. They're quite hard to draw by hand. But what this will mean is that if this condition is met, everything between the first curly bracket and the first close brackets will be done. Of course, you can have if statements within if statements, and that gets a bit more complicated, so I'm not going to cover these, but they essentially follow the same thing. Now, the conditions are actually made in a special way. You have first a variable, or the condition has to have a conditional operator, for example, equals, or is greater than, or smaller than, greater or equal to, or smaller and equal to. And so in the end, you might have some, so if you want to check if x is greater than 50, for example, so you would have if, then you have your brackets just to make stuff neat. You don't actually need them, but it's better. X is greater than 50, close brackets, and then you can, let me load the screen here. Then you can have, you know, 5, x is equal to 5. And that will basically say if your x is greater than 50, execute the piece of code over here. And the piece of code over here basically says make x equal to 5. So every time you'll go over 50, it will come back to 5. So as you can see, if statements are really, really useful because they allow you to execute some code only if you need it. So this will be used to check if the zombie runs out of health, or you know, so if health is more than 0, or you know, if it, a bunch of other uses for it, obviously. Now we're also going to cover a other factor, which is the random factor, the random the random script. So you use it in the following way. So you have random, and then you get a number. Let's call it x, and basically this will return a value between 0 and x. So say you had random 600. This could give you 50, could give you 0, could give you 600, it could give you 4.625, it could give you a multitude of different numbers. Now, as you noticed, it can give you what's called a floating point number, a decimal point. And you might not want this. You might only want a certain number. In that case, use another function called irandom. And this one will only return integers between 0 and x. So integers between 0 and x. And that is really useful because if you want to, for example, generate a number either 0 or 1, for example, if you want to check if you want it to either do one thing or the other, it's really useful because if you just said random 1, then it will generate a number between 0 and 1, but it might generate 0.5, and then if you use your if statement, go if whatever the random was is equal to 2 or 1, then it will never be, because you can have all those different numbers in between. That's why irandom exists. So if you have irandom 1, it will either be 0 or 1. 0 or 1, nothing else, no other possibilities. So that's what we're going to be using in this tutorial. So let's go into GameMaker and delete some stuff I was doing before that as prep work. Okay, so we will be first of all creating a zombie sprite. I created the one right here. As you can see, it's a circle and an arrow to show the direction it's pointing in. Very simple. Now let's create a new object and call it obj zombie. obj_zombie, because the type of enemy we're going to be creating are zombies, because they're nice and simple to code. So first of all, we want them to move towards the player. So that's quite simple to do. We just have to go in the event and the step event. Now the reason we're putting this inside the step event is that the player might move. Obviously right now it doesn't because we didn't add it, but in our second tutorial, the one on how to code, I showed you how to move the objects around. So using the arrow key, so you can simply use that code to make your player move, but I'm not going to cover this right here since I already have. So the object zombie will all the time follow the player, so I'm going to use the execute code, and I'm going to say that the direction is equal to the point underscore direction, obviously its x position, its y position, and now we want to have the object position. Now you might see a problem here that we need to access a variable that this object zombie doesn't actually know. He needs it's stored inside the player object, inside the player instance, not inside the zombie instance. So this is when you call upon the object player. So you go obj_player dot x, and this will basically say that I want the value of x stored inside object player, not other objects, only object player. And so you can do the same thing for obj_player dot y. And this will only return your x and y value from the player. Now, if you have more than one object player instances, it will be the later object you created or the first one, depending on what version of GameMaker you're using. I think it changed between Studio and GameMaker 8, so you'll have to check which one you're using. But since we only have one player, it's fine. So let's put a semicolon after this just to make sure we don't have any problems later on. And now we want to give it a speed. Let's give it a nice and simple speed of, we want it quite slow but not too fast either. Let's say 3. 3 is a nice number. So now we have our, well, actually 3 might be a little low, 4 is good. So this will now always set its direction towards the player and go at the speed of 4. So this will basically move towards the player at the speed of 4. That's quite simple so far. Now let's see if it works properly. So go inside our room, take our object and place it, maybe 2 or 3 of them. And if we press the play button right now, it should quickly compile, because there isn't much to this game. I mean, it just takes a second. And what we should see is the player should still act as last tutorial, but we will have new objects follow and move towards the player. And as you can see, they are. Now, once they get there, they're kind of stuck, because obviously there's nowhere to go. Now, right now, we can't really shoot at them. It doesn't do much. So let's change this. Now, I did notice the zombies were a little fast. Let's halve their speed right here. Or even make it equal to 1. There are zombies supposed to be pretty slow. Press OK. And now inside the, actually no, go back to the zombie thing, and we want him to lose health every time he gets hit by a bullet. Now, right now we do have one problem that you might have noticed. We didn't give him any health. We don't have anything to do with health. So let's add an event in the create event. Let's give him some health. So let's go to the control tab and code and go my_health is equal to, let's give him 100 health, because that's a standard number. Now, you do notice I didn't just use the health variable, because health is actually something that, as you can see, it's a red variable, a variable that GameMaker recognizes. And the problem with that is that it's shared across every single object, so if you hit one zombie, it will lose health for all the other zombies. So by just putting my_ in front, just stops it from being a recognized variable. and it means that it won't be shared across um, different objects. So let's press OK here. And now we want him to lose health every time he gets hit. That's quite simple, just add event, collision, object, bullet. So every time he gets hit, this event will be triggered. So let's go over here and type in some code. My underscore health minus is equal to, and let's go 20. So he needs 5 bullets in order to die. Now, so right now he'll lose health, but nothing will happen once he dies. So now, when he gets hit, we want to check if his health is lower or equal to 0. So that's quite simple. We just go the if statement, remember, open brackets, my underscore health is lower or equal to 0. Now this is just the if statement by itself. Now we need to give him code. So I'm just going to write instance underscore destroy. So remember, instance destroy will actually destroy the zombie object. Now we also want the object bullet to get destroyed. So the way we do that is go inside the bullet object, add a collision event with object zombie, and simply call instance underscore destroy. Destroy. I didn't spell instance right. Instance destroy, like so. And so now the bullet, when it hits the object zombie, it will destroy, and when the zombie hits an object bullet, it will lose health. Now let's see if this works. Oh, and when the health is smaller or equal to 0, he gets destroyed. Now this should work perfectly fine. Let's see if it does. So remember, now we should be able to hit the zombies, and the zombies should lose health and eventually die after about 5 bullets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he died. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he died. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he died as well. So it's all working nice and well. Now we might want to have a little health bar above the zombie indicating how much health he has. To do this, we have to add our own custom drawing code. So this gets a little bit more complicated, but it's not that bad. Let's go to add a new event, the draw event. Draw. The reason we need a new event to draw is because of the way GameMaker handles stuff, and you can only draw during the draw event. So let's add a new code sample here. And first of all, we want him to draw himself. We want him to have his own body, you know, the little sprite we gave him to be drawn. So we write draw underscore self. This will handle all the drawing of the sprites nice and easily. The reason we need to rewrite this, even though he already drew himself before, is because when you add a new event inside the draw, a new action inside the draw event, he'll, you know, forget about what he already had by default. So you have to draw self, to add draw self at some point. Next, we want to draw a health bar above him. Now, GameMaker is really nice, and it gives you a special function called draw underscore health bar. Nice and easily. Now, we want him to draw it just, you know, above him. So we can go maybe... So again, you need 4 values, x1, y1, x2, y2, and then some other values, which I'll cover just after. So x1, y1, x2, y2 define the box in which the health bar will be drawn, kind of a rectangle. So x1, y1 is the top left corner, x2, y2 bottom right corner. So we want it to be, you know, relative to his position. So let's say x minus maybe 16. Actually, that might x minus 32. Why not? And then y minus let's go a bit higher, 34. So the top left, actually 36. The top left corner will be above him, so 36 pixels above him, right here, and 32 pixels to his left. Now we need to add the bottom right corner. So we want that maybe to be just at x plus 32, so 32 pixels to his right. And we want it to be just above him, so maybe just below above him, so y minus 30. So yeah, y minus 30 being just above him. So because remember he is 64 pixels wide. That means that from its center point, he is 32 pixels, in radius. So this will just be exactly its radius its diameter in length, and in height it will be around 6 pixels. Now the amount is how much health he has. So remember, we just had a nice my health, and that is actually between 0 and 100. So it's a really good thing we already chose 100, because it means we don't have to do some weird maths over here. Back color will be the color behind it. We don't really want one, so it doesn't matter. So let's say C_white. So GameMaker offers you a nice and easy way to get colors. C_ and then whatever color you want, as long as it's part of GameMaker, but it covers quite a few, will, give you a nice color. You can do this also, so the back color is the color behind the health bar. Then we have the minimum color, C_red. So the minimum color is when the health is really low. When the health is really low, we want to show a red color. And when the health is really high, max color, we want to put C_green. Now, by the way, on the bottom of the over here, you can see all the different arguments that you need, so you don't have to remember everything off by heart. I don't actually know them, I'm reading off over here. So max color is the, when you have 100% health, what color is going to be. So we want it to be green. The direction, we're just going to leave at 0, I won't go over that right now. Show back is whether you want him to show the back color. Now, remember I said we don't really need this right now, so let's just put 0, meaning no. Remember, 1 is yes, 0 is no. And show border is whether we want to show a small border around the health bar. That we do, so that we can see when it's getting low, when it's getting high. So we want to put a 1 meaning yes. So now we can close this and put a semicolon. And that should draw a health bar right above him. If you are unsure about what was going on over here, I might not have been very clear, there is a much better explanation inside the help over here. So now that we have the health bar drawn, let's see if it works perfectly. So just launch the game once more, and we should see above each zombie a small health bar, and when I hit him, the health bar gets smaller. Perfect, exactly what we wanted. Now, what we will want to have is that the player loses health when he gets hit by a zombie. That will be a little bit more interesting, because right now there's no way to lose. So, add an event in the player object, collision with object zombie, and we can just say health minus is equal to maybe 0. Now, let's think about this actually. Right now, your zombie is hitting you. So the collision object zombie will happen every single step. And since you had 30 steps per second, you want him to lose, he'll lose that amount that you're going to type, for example here, to every single 30 times per second. Now let's say you want him to be hit for about 5 seconds of being hit by a zombie before he dies. That's so that would be, 20 per second. So per step, it would be around, I'm really bad at math, 0.6, I think? Something like that. So you want him to lose 0.6 every second. Now notice how I did use the normal health. That's because the normal health is, it's fine in this instance because we're only using it once for one player. So, and remember how it's shared across every single object? It doesn't matter since you only have one instance of the player. So now we want it in the create event to have health is equal to 100, so it starts off with full health. And in the draw event, we want to have him draw himself, so draw_self, so that he draws, the normal sprites in the right direction. And now we want to draw a health bar at the top left of the screen. So draw_health bar. So we want it to be at the top left of the screen, and maybe you want it to be 128 pixels right, and maybe 32 pixels, down. The amount will just be your health. health. The back color we're just going to ignore, so just put C white or whatever you want. The main color again, C red, and the max color, C underscore green. The direction will be 0 once again, just because we don't need to worry about this in this instance. Show back 0 and show border true. Now that so this will draw a health bar at the top left corner of the screen, 128 pixels wide, 32 pixels in height. You'll use health as the variable, and the minimum color is red, maximum color is green. So nice and simple right here. Now we do want him to die once he reaches health more than 0. So I'll just do something very simple. I'll just go inside the collision object zombie code. If health is smaller or equal to 0, you want to say, let's just show a message, show underscore message. Now, we want to say you died or something very simple. Game over, for example. Now, we want text, and text has to be shown within commas. So we can have game over, like so. Notice how it is red because it is a string, because I put it between these commas right here, in red commas. Speech marks. Now let's put a semicolon after that, and we want to restart the game once the player pressed OK. So remember, the show message will freeze the game just as instance until the player pressed OK. So now if you have game underscore restart, I think there's the function, yes, game underscore restart will restart the whole game at the beginning of the room, as if you had relaunched the game. So it's really useful for, you know, restarting a level, etc, etc. So if you press OK here and save and launch it, we should be able to see the player, and now he can shoot the objects down, and here you have his health. And watch closely, I'm just going to kill this one. Now that he's being hit, he's now losing health really slowly until it's down. And game over, when I have no health left, press OK and the whole game restarts. So nice and easy. Now let's add some spawning to the game. Now, in order for objects to spawn, we're going to need another object to create these objects. You know, the object that will carry out the code to create the instances. So let's create a new object, call it obj underscore spawner. We do not need a sprite because it's just going to be there to create objects, nothing else. So let's add an event, and let's create an alarm event, alarm 0. Now the alarm event is quite an important event as well. It happens that you have to set first the alarm, and after a certain amount of time, defined by how you set the alarm, it will trigger the event. So you can, you know, set the alarm to maybe 30 steps, and after 30 steps after that, the alarm will be triggered, and the code inside it will be ran. So let's add a very simple spawning code. Instance underscore create. Instance underscore create. Let's create a random position. So you want to have random 640, which is the current width of the room, and random 480, which is also the current height of the room, and object bj underscore zombie. So this will create a zombie at a random position x and random between 640 and 480. So remember, random will call a random position between 0 and 640. So, and random 480 will make a random number between 0 and 480. So it will spawn a zombie somewhere inside the room. So right now, this alarm is not going to get triggered because we're never calling it. Now, once the alarm gets called, like once you spawn a zombie, you want another zombie to come sometime after. So once the alarm is triggered, we want to reset the alarm to maybe, I don't know, 20 steps before that. So to do this, you type alarm 0 is equal to, okay, let's say 30 steps. So this is how you set an alarm. You say alarm, bracket 0 is what alarm you want to trigger. Another tutorial will actually explain how this bracket 0 brackets work. But this is quite advanced, so I don't want to cover it in this tutorial. And then you set it to a certain number. So it's essentially you're assigning a value to alarm 0, and then alarm 0 will automatically decrease every time. This is handled by GameMaker on its own, so you don't need to worry about it. Now, this is all fine, so this will repeat every 30 steps, so every second bell. However, we don't have an actual, it never begins, you need to have a first time to create that alarm 0. So let's go and add event, create, alarm 0 is equal to 20, for example. So now the spawner will be created. It will set the alarm to 20 steps. After 20 steps, alarm 0 will be triggered, and it will spawn a random zombie somewhere randomly. And then alarm 0 will be equal, it will set the alarm back to 30. Kind of like a cycle, you see. It keeps on putting the alarm back to 30 every time. So it acts more like a timer. Now, we did forget to do something with the zombies, I believe. And that is to actually, inside the step event, make it point towards the player. So remember, direction is already the direction towards the player. So we can just go image underscore angle is equal to direction. And this will just make, again, the angle of the image, so of its sprite, point towards the player. So that is just a quick little thing. So now that we have our spawner set up, let's place it inside the room. So select it down here, anywhere random, and press play. Now it's going to be compiling everything once again, and every 30 seconds or so, it will create a new instance. And as you can see, it is working. Now I need to get rid of them really quickly because I'm going to die soon. And as you can see, it keeps creating more and more instances. Now we do have a problem. Some of them are spawning, in the middle of the room. And this is quite bad because, it could spawn right on you or something like that. And we want it to appear from the edge of the room. So let's go to, I did notice something very strange, but that doesn't matter. We want to go into our spawner and change up the spawner event. So right now it will choose a random value between 0 and 640 and 0 and 480. So it's going to be anywhere inside the room. This is bad. We only want it in the sides of the room. So either left, anywhere across the left side, anywhere across the right side, anywhere across the top side, or anywhere above the bottom side. So what we can do, which isn't too bad, is first of all decide if it's going to be top, bottom, left, or right. So we can simply go top, bottom, left, right. TBLR is going to be our new variable, and we're going to set that to irandom 3. So this TBLR, so top, bottom, left, right, basically, will be either 0, either 1, either 2, or either 3, because we set it to irandom, so integer random. So it won't be 0.5 or something random like that. Now we can go make 4 if statements. So if TBLR is equal to 0, we want it to, remember curly brackets means execute whatever is between here. We want it to create an object on the on the top side. So remember, the top is when y is equal to 0, so just set y equal to 0. And as you can see, it will create anywhere across the x-axis, but at the very top of the screen. Now we can simply copy this 4 times. If TBLR is equal to 1, that means we are bottom. We don't want it to be equal to 0, we want it to be equal to 480, which is the bottom of the screen, because our room size is 640 by 480. Now, if TBLR is equal to 2, it means that we are on the left side. So we want the, remember left is when x is equal to 0, so make this equal to 0, and then anywhere across it. So random 480, because 480, remember, is the height of the room. And finally, if TBLR is equal to 3, we want to create one, again, on the right, which is 640, at the x value, and anywhere, so random 480. And so that, and now we can get rid of this one. And so this will basically choose what side you want to be on. So 0 being top, 1 being bottom, left being left, 0 being top, 1 being bottom, 2 being left, and 3 being right. So if it is equal to 0, we're going to be creating it when at anywhere across the x-axis, but again at the top where y equals 0. And we repeat the same pattern for all other sides, making sure the randoms and the 0s and 640s and 480s are set to the right number. Now, this is all fine, and if we play the game now, we should see that all the objects are spawning exactly on the edges of the screen and not directly on the objects. So as you can see, all new objects are being created at the edge of the screen, and this makes the game a lot less random, so objects don't directly spawn onto you. So I think this covers about all of it for this tutorial. So we showed you how to make a very simple spawner, how to make the zombies follow your player, how to make them have health, how to draw a health bar, quite a lot in fact, more than I originally planned to actually. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time for some more tutorials.